friends, welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. My name is Caitlin and we're in the garden today for an impromptu garden walk. So last year I did a video, and I'll put some clips in throughout this video, of the August garden, and I call the August garden the August curse because I have stayed on my weeds pretty good this year, and we're in August now, and August doesn't care. It is so unbelievably hot and humid that the weeds, I don't even have any chance of keeping up with the weeds. So I talk about this August curse being, you just let the garden do what it's going to do. You harvest the food that you can get from your garden and you let the weeds go crazy. And then here is my message to you. If this is your first August curse, or you are feeling downtrodden or overwhelmed that you got to get all this stuff out of your garden come winter, I'm here to tell you, you can do it. It will happen. All of this stuff, as soon as it dies, will really compact itself, and it'll be really easy to get it out of the garden. It is some work, but it's not that hard. So I'm going to give you a tour of my August garden. We're going to talk about what we have going on in here, and I'm going to show you just how bad it is. And I used to spend, and I probably will, the fall overwhelmed by the amount of work I have to do. Right up there, I don't know if you can see them, there's a massive pile of wood chips that have to go in these garden beds. I have to spread some behind the garage over here. But I have a massive pile of wood chips that have to go away by the time the snow flies. And I'm feeling overwhelmed about that, but I'm not feeling overwhelmed about the garden because the garden will get done. It gets done every single year, and it's a lot of work, but it does get done. So let's walk through my garden. I'll show you my August garden. I'll show you clips from last year so you can compare. At this point, I really don't think there's that much comparing to do. I will say, for the record, I didn't get to mulch my paths this year. We planted some new things this year that have contributed to the messiness of the garden, but I have just come to accept that no matter what you do, the August garden has a mind of its own. It is a beauty all of its own, and just let it do what it's going to do, and you will bring it back together come fall. So I'm standing right inside the garden. You see there's the pond and my cattail, which will not stand anymore. I don't know if you can actually see. It has roots down there. I need to up pot that desperately. I just haven't done it yet. And then all of my kale. So my kale, you can see all the aphids flying around. Full of aphids. Look at that. So as of now, I'm leaving the kale because the bunny is still eating the kale. Every now and then I can take off a piece and feed it to her and she still eats it. However, at this point, I'm no longer eating it just because I don't feel like dealing with the aphids. The back of the kale is so full of aphids that I don't even feel like trying to mess with it to get it clean enough for me to eat it. So at this point, this is just rabbit food, and then when I'm done with it, I'm just going to pull it out and compost it. So I just watered, so you'll see my hose, and that's okay. But look at this, like, this is a path, and you honestly can't even tell it's a path. So right along here are all of my peppers, and then here is the path. So what we have happening is, well, not many, but like some weeds. This sunflower is on its way out just about, but that has gotten really big. And then I think the main, what's the word I'm looking for, culprit, is we have a zinnia here that it's actually rooted over there. So it's from there all the way over here that it's growing. A random tree that I need to pull out. And then we have this tomatillo bush here that, so there's, you can see the tomatillas that is all the way over in that pile. So this tomatillo has gotten huge, and then this is a different kind that we have. So I'm excited to see what they are growing fruit, so I'm excited to see what they taste like. But let me show you from a different angle. And then I have, for whatever reason, this banana pepper has been laying over since I planted it, basically. so that doesn't look too bad. So we're going to spin you around to look where we just came from. It looks so much worse. Look at that. Like, it's just... It looks terrible. And then if we go into this massive mess. Oh, I forgot I have an okra here. I gotta harvest my okra. Oh, that one's gonna come out. I can't believe I just ripped that off. That's actually never happened. There is, what you can barely see, a little trellis in there that you can't honestly tell. So what was honestly probably stupid, but that trellis I planted morning glories on, and morning glories spread like crazy. But I had them in the top garden, so I'm like, it's only a matter of time. This looks really bad. I realize this is here. I cut myself somehow and I can't get it to go away. So ignore that. But I planted morning glories to go over this arch, thinking like, okay, that'll be something purple and towering that flowers. They do spread like crazy. But I thought it might be fun, and they are spreading like crazy. So that is just a gigantic mess. So this is honestly, if I didn't know any better, it would be worrisome. It would be like, oh my God, that's so much. But it's honestly not that bad. It's 3 main plants, and then the sunflower and the morning glory. So that's actually not that bad. To give you an idea, this bed housed the broccoli, and I'll put a clip in here, or I'll try to at least, to show you what the broccoli bed looked like. And I couldn't even use this pathway over here at all. The broccoli was growing out, and so the pathway was massive. It took me mosquito. It took me less than 5 minutes. You just rip those plants up. I tossed them right over the fence here, and then loaded them into the truck and took them up to the woods. So destroying things is actually fun and goes pretty quickly. So you will notice that this bed is completely empty. Well, not completely empty, but it doesn't have the broccoli and the cabbage in it. I've harvested all of that. And I have some zucchinis in the back coming. That's the start of the fall harvest. In the front, I did plant some lettuces. There are 2 little patches of green. Those are lettuces. And then in the middle, I planted some beets. So I never have luck with the fall garden, and I'll tell you why. And I added a new reason to why I don't have luck with the fall garden. Number 1, I had really great plant starts. I'll show you my other bed where the onions were. I planted broccoli and cauliflower and lettuce, and I had starts, and they looked great. They're all gone. So number 1, now is the time to get the plants in. However, it's also 90 degrees outside, and the plants that are for fall don't like the hot temperature. So that is definitely a problem that I've not learned how to combat. I don't know how to have a fall garden when you have to plant the cool weather plants in the heat of the summer. I don't know how to do it. So the starts that I had are basically gone. The zucchini starts, I do have a couple of zucchinis here. I had 5, I think I'm down to 3, which is okay. 3 zucchinis is more than enough, and I don't plan on using this zucchini for preservation. I plan on using it for fresh eating, so I think that's gonna be more than enough. But even them, I put them in the ground and they shriveled up instantly. Even with water in, it's just so hot that plants are going into shock when you try to transplant them. They don't transplant well. So that's the newest thing I've learned with trying to have a fall garden, is trying to keep your plants alive past the initial planting. Up until now, I've been really, really bad at getting starts, period. I would plant the seeds and then forget to put light on them, never water them, they get leggy, they dry out. I don't know. But this year I got starts. And then they instantly died because it got too hot. So the key right now is to keep all of these beds watered, because I have seeds in them. Once they germinate, you can't let these beds dry out. So it is 90 degrees, so I should be watering them twice a day, and I might try to get in the habit of watering them morning and night. But I did just water everything, and we'll see what we can get. We'll be happy with what we can get. Before I keep going though, let me show you. I am so ready for fall. I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, fall, we're here, I'm ready. I was sitting on the couch last night and I almost was like, oh, I want to decorate for fall. Can I decorate for fall? For reference, it is August 15th. So I don't think I can decorate for fall yet, but I really want to. But oh, the light just changed. Well, let me show you. We'll see if the light comes back. The light was just on my neighbor's tree and it's starting to change color. And it was gorgeous. So we'll keep an eye. We'll see if the light comes back because it was just hitting that tree. I wasted too much time talking, guys. How annoying of me. But so here we have the tomato bed. And so this is what I call the field. It's not a field. I don't know why I call it a field, but it is. Because I think for so many years I tried to have things growing in here and the only thing that grew in here was weeds. So I either call it the pasture or the field. And this year we have tomatoes growing and massive sunflowers. So here is the field. Growing some really pretty sunflowers. Oh, I'm losing my light. That light was just gorgeous a few seconds ago. I've talked too much, which is a me thing to do. And you can see that big old tree there. But, I mean, you can see there's a lot of red in here. I'm really trying to pick as often as I can. Well, I'm trying to pick as they turn red. But then just look how big these sunflowers are. I mean, they're huge. And the garden is just bursting with weeds, but with so much food. Okay. Now we're gonna wander over here. We're gonna wander through the maze. And so, more weeds. So much stuff is going on back there. So, there are weeds that are still in this bed here that I need to get clippers and cut because they got so big I can't get to them. And the problem that I had this year with why those weeds got so big is that was my onion bed. That was my onion bed. And when I pulled the weeds, it would disturb and pull out the onion. So I couldn't. So I have them bed over right now, but they're still growing. You can see that whole big pile is from those right there. And then we have lots of, this is like some sort of tree that needs to be cut. The nasturtium has gotten massive and it looks kind of not as good as it used to. Back there, so I can show you, I have a hint of a pumpkin. You can just see, so I have a pumpkin coming on, that's exciting. And my beans behind Bessie the cow, I have no beans yet. It was a bad year for my beans, but that guy is doing gorgeous things. That is a chickpea, so I'm excited to see if I get chickpeas from him. But look at the weeds, like I mean. Will say is this was my first time planting a garden, and my garden grew. Gotta feed the cat before we leave the garden. This was my first time planting a garden, and my garden grew as my desire to garden grew. Like when I moved into this house, I was not this level of gardener, period, and I never would have expected to become this level of gardener. So the garden started off small just for daily eating, and then as it grew because I wanted to preserve things, right? Oh, there's stuff in that. You gotta fill up the cat's water too. There was no wormies in it. I just filled up my pond, so I'm just gonna use the pond water. It's an outside cat, right? I mean, pond water, I just filled it up. That's why it looks so good. It's better than what was in the water cup. Anywho, I digress. So, the fast bunny. So the garden grew as my love of gardening grew. And there are things you don't think about until you think about them, right? So the first thing I didn't think about was when you're gardening, when you have beds, my beds were initially weren't mulched. My beds initially weren't mulched. I just planned to mow them. But when I planned to mow them, I don't think things through. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I don't think things through. And I didn't leave the beds wide enough for a mower to get in between. So I said, no problem, I'll weed eat them. I hate weed eating. So then we put the mulch down and the garden just grew, and the garden just, she wasn't a thought out garden. When I put these first couple of beds, I think there was 5 beds total. I'll see if I can put an image in here, see if I have one of what it looked like when I first put her in. I never in a million years would have thought it would have gotten this big. And now people say, oh, your garden's so big. And I'm like, ha, no, it's not. It could be 4 times the size before I'm content. For the amount of preservation I want to do, and for the amount of, like, I would love to sell a lot of this stuff to really kind of pay for my habit. So that's part of why the aisles are so packed together too, is because I don't have a lot of space between the aisles. So when my plant, like my tomatillo, gets big, it takes up the whole space. And when it takes up the whole space, I don't walk down that path because I don't want to mess with the tomatillo. Well, then the weeds start growing. So the one thing to remember is that, especially if it's a first year plant, aside from like trees are hard to come out. I have a couple trees, as I showed you. This guy at his size, he's probably going to be a little hard to come out. But the majority of this stuff it's in our loose soil. It'll come out super easily. So that's the nice thing. And if it doesn't, go grab a shovel and dig it out. I honestly am amazed at how easily a lot of this stuff comes out. So we're just dealing with the mess. Every year I'm always overwhelmed, and it always gets cleaned up and always looks fantastic. But before I do a little garden montage to end this video, I just found another volunteer that I didn't know what happened, but it did, and I'm so excited. So these I grew last year are red noodle beans. So I have one of these growing somehow. Look how exciting. So I'm gonna harvest these guys. I'm gonna have these for supper tomorrow night. So I'm gonna end it here. I'm gonna do a little montage to kind of walk you guys around the garden. But thank you guys for joining me. If you're having an August curse garden, let me know in the comments, or send me a video, or send me a picture on Instagram, Farm Girl Diaries. Show me that I'm not alone, that everyone is experiencing the August curse. I'll talk to you later, friends. Bye.